How's it going, everybody? It's your host Aku here. I've recorded this so many times, and I really wanted to do it right. And I hope this is going to be my last time I make this attempt, and hopefully, I get things right about it. I think this time I want this to be a lot more chill. I haven't done a video or done any recordings since July, so everything I've recorded. Sorry, I had to burp for a little bit. Um, Essentially all my recent videos that I've put up were essentially recorded back around like June or July, and then I've recorded so much to the point where I had to start editing everything. I had to edit everything. I had to break them apart, edit them, and like render and then upload them just so that I can like save space for my computer and whatnot. So that was just something that I had to deal with for many, many months. And then on a few occasions, I would start sparingly upload videos and whatnot. And then the biggest scheduling in terms of like consistent content and whatnot was like have managed to get videos to be uploaded around like mid like January to like now throughout March. And I'm out of videos, and this maybe except for this, but I'm out of videos at the moment. And it's for, unfortunately, it's for several reasons. First off, you know, I'm back to school, but like this semester is going to be my last, hopefully my last. If for some reason I'm prevented from graduation, I will fucking drop out. Because at this point I'm very tired. I've been in school for 8 years. I'm very tired. And I'm at a point in my life where I just need to move on to something else in that matter. Don't worry, I'm not quitting YouTube. As a matter of fact, now despite, with everything going on, and like I'm technically hunting down a job, I just need to I am technically trying to I just need help with fixing up my resume. So that's something I'm currently working on at the moment. I have to fix my resume because I had to include a few things that I have done that's warranted to be in the resume. So I'm searching for a 9 to 5 job, hoping that is QA testing related, because I do not want to work in a fucking game company. It used Working in a game company used to be something that I've wanted to do, but then I think it was until maybe 2 to 3 years ago where I started to no longer like the idea at all. And especially with everything going on in the gaming industry, I have spoken to several friends about this, and they basically have understand where I was coming from. And I think a lot of the terrible things that I've heard are coming from Western game companies. No, I'm sure that's not to say like I'm not saying like any Japanese companies are any better or anything like that, but I haven't really heard anything from the Japanese side of things. The only foreign companies I've heard was probably more so the Chinese side of things, but that's China. That's China. I'm not gonna be able to speak Chinese. I'm actually language challenged, so like learning a second language is actually like it's either much harder or it's outright impossible for me. So, and since I have a really bad mouth mechanism, is not, it's not great, and it just makes things a lot harder. So there's that. I am nervous in trying to get a job while still being in school at the moment, because it's like school and work is not a good idea. Is not entirely a best idea, especially for a lot of from what I've heard from a lot of neurodivergent people, and I'm neurodivergent myself. Hello, I'm autistic and ADHD. The latter I found out fucking recently, so holy shit. Actually, apparently I found out that apparently I had ADHD at such a young age, and this wasn't told to me till like very recently. Uh, that was all because I said that I was actually gonna plan to at least undergo an assessment to hopefully to hopefully fairly be evaluated, fairly. Um, and why not? Like, I guess I didn't have to go through that scary process of getting an assessment, because sometimes you can get paired with somebody that has a lot of, because I know a lot of horror stories of like you could get paired with a psychologist or a doctor that has a lot of like that have like a lot of outdated mindset when it comes to like the diagnosis for a lot of disorders in the first place. Or you could even be fucking misdiagnosed with an entirely different disorder in general, and that doesn't sound great. That doesn't sound great. So I'm like, shit. But anyways, moving on. I guess I'll also speak on like what I have like for winter break. I know like in winter break I was just playing a lot of video games just for out of enjoyment, and it felt super relieving for me, because I feel like I barely ever get to do that a lot of the times. I barely get to do that. The only other time I can recall that I was able to do so was during spring break last year. I took a trip to Puerto Rico, and I listed like 9 games for me to like play through and finish, and I've managed to finish 7 out of 9 games. So that's fucking something. That's actually really cool, and I finished 7 games in like fucking during the month of April. That's crazy. But I do look forward to this upcoming spring break that's also kind of like happening in April. I'm excited. But I hope things aren't gonna be too super stressful with homework assignments and shit like that. I think probably, especially the way one of my classes is that only one of my class gives me homework, or at the very least, the homework in of itself is just working on a game. There's nothing super specific. There's no deadlines unless the deadline is like somewhere within in a few weeks or whatever. So like there will be in a situation like that for me, it's like I would give myself at least a day or 2 off just to like not focus on the work, because like, and ever since the shit that has been happening like for the past few semesters and then like fucking university back in 2021, like back in 2021, god, that was fucking awful. So I feel like this current semester for me has been such a really nice change of pace, and I'm currently hunting down for a job. I know I've already mentioned this, but I'm looking for a 9 to 5 job, because I think at this point for me in my life, I'm okay with getting a 9 to 5 job. And to me, that is because I think when it comes to creating video games, I think I prefer to do that in my own time. I prefer my own free time to create video games or do whatever it is that, or just engaging my own hobbies and stuff like that. I know I'm getting a degree in game design, but I know there's a lot of people that have went more on the indie dev route. So they decide to be independent game developers and create their own games. But I also know that they basically have a regular 9 to 5 job just to have a stable pay, and that when they're free from work, they get to work on the games that they've always wanted to make. And I've always feel like that might be, I always felt like that's the best path for me. Now, I think I've mentioned this from a Child Garden video, because I wanted to, for some fucking reason, I wanted to be super real with y'all with the things in my life. I want to get into game testing and, you know, QA, video game QA testing, uh, a beta tester basically, and the idea is such, you know, it's such a fun idea. I get to test out and play the games that the devs are working on, and you know, I get to try to, you know, see whatever bugs that might happen, and you know, report them. And there's been so much happening in the gaming industry where there's just been quite a lot of unfinished games. And I'm specifically talking about, I'm talking about like big corporate companies. I'm not really talking about indie games, sort of speaking, because I feel like, I to me, I think maybe at least 98% of indie games, I've 98 or 99% of games I've known that when an indie game is released, like it's finished, like the games feel finished from what I've heard. And then I know like some games will have like DLC later, but I feel like the difference here between, like, for a lot of I know like the differences between like from a, like from an indie game to like uh uh a big published game is that a lot of devs will purposely release something unfinished and then finish it in an add-in DLC. Like they'll try to like finish a game, but they'll call it DLC essentially. Even though when a game is first being released, it's like the game feels unfinished and certainly not warrant a certain amount of price tag that's being placed on it. I don't know if I'm making sense in that department. So it's either that. So I would say, like, an example like of some of Nintendo's Mario sports games were, I've heard a lot of them were first released. They were kind of unfinished, and this was on purpose so that they could finish the game later, and they'll basically release it as like DLC later. So it's either that, or I would hear incidents where a lot of a lot of big project games will be outright they be released, they be so unfinished to the point where there's a lot of bugs. There's bugs, there's glitches. And I'm not talking about some fun bugs that players can like perform and it or exploit that can make things easier. No, I'm talking about bugs that outright like hinder player experience. You know, Cyberpunk 2077, or the fucking or how about the Grand Theft Auto collection? Apparently there's bugs, there's glitches there. Like apparently it's not, apparently it was a finished, or there have been a few other examples, like especially from and this is also kind of like happening with, this has been happening with a lot of these things, and a lot of it has more so to do with really bad working conditions. Like this is manifested from bad working environments where the employees are being overworked, and employees get overworked very constantly. It's not like every once in a while where you may have to stay overnight to get something done. No, this is like this shit is like the norm. This shit is like literally a norm. And to me, if this is something that's been happening for me, if for my own well-being and knowing how I am as a person, I would not be able to work in these types of working conditions like that at all. I would rather much work at I would rather work in a 9 to 5 job where once maybe around 5 or 6 o'clock I'm clocked out. I'm not doing any more work for that day. I'm taking time for myself for the rest of the day. Um, I would understand like if on a few occasions you would have to like stay just a little bit longer just to get whatever extra things done or whatever, but a constant overwork, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to work in a game company because of that. And I'm going to protect myself from that. And respect, hopefully people would respect my decision in that department. I would much prefer to just work in a 9 to 5 and then do actual game developing in my own time. And I wouldn't mind classifying myself as an indie dev in that, in that point. Whenever if I do get to like develop another game, if it be a first time developing a game that isn't like for school or whatever, but because I'm developing a game to start off my own indie dev career or something. And I think for me, the good thing about it is that even if my game doesn't sell well, I don't have to feel I don't have to feel so stressed out about it because I would still have a 9 to 5 job. A 9 to 5 job, right? And I've actually watched there was a video there was a video at this I'll probably put a screenshot or something. Um, but essentially, I basically managed. I managed to look at this video, and it's essentially I promise you the video is not like what it's the thumbnail it makes it sound like, oh, give up your dreams. But no, but it actually goes a little bit more about um I'll put a video in the description and I'll probably even put it in the pinned comment as well. Um that I just saw it today and it's literally the most, I would say, very inspirational, and it was also very validating with what I've been feeling for the past few years. And this was something that I was thinking that this might be the best course of action for me. And I've been so scared to like completely admit it and to outright, admit my feelings by that point, because I thought maybe I'm just like, I was like nervous that maybe I might get called lazy again, such a ableist term for a lot, especially for a lot of autistic people and like a lot of ADHD people as well. For I think like for a lot of neurodivergent people in general, I think the word lazy is such a it's such a bad word for neurodivergent people. Like, holy shit. Um, I it's like, just because I'm going for a 9 to 5 job instead of something that I get my degree for, it doesn't mean I'm quote unquote giving up or quote unquote don't want to try or anything like that. I think for me, it's just like I want to, I just want to have the type of life where, um, and it's so hard to explain. Like, I think it was just something like this whole wanting to be a game designer type of thing. It was just something I've held on to for so long, but sometimes holding on to it for too much can be very it can be such a very negative thing. It can be a negative thing. And sometimes in situations, it's not going to entirely be possible in a way that you would want it, right? So when eventually I think like it was a year ago where I've began to have this spark of idea where that I I probably might prefer to be like a game tester or some kind of QA testing of any kind, really. Um that eventually I like I think like you start to learn that maybe your dreams can be is that your dreams can be adapted, your dreams can be evolved, it can be changed. You know, sometimes in life you're going to change your mind with what you want to do for the rest of your life, and I think that's going to be okay. It is okay to change your mind with something. So maybe I think like I think in my case it's like it's okay for me to change my mind about wanting to work in a game company. Um and I think especially with how everything has been again going on in the industry, like I've already explained this shit. Um that it's okay for me to like not take that approach anymore, and that I could just I can get a stable 9 to 5. And you know, I've actually I guess like I was so like it's something like in my heart, like this new course of action I want to do in my heart, like this is something I'm feeling in my heart, but like in my mind I felt completely unsure, and maybe it's due to the fear of other people's reactions and stuff like that. I think even to the point where I've actually asked one of my professors, one of my current professor, that, you know, I've asked her, "Hey, would it be weird if I say I would want to have a regular 9 to 5, but then on my free time I would create video games in my free time?" And she told me no. That that's not weird at all, and that's actually perfectly fine, and that this is that's also she even told me that that's something she's doing. um you know, and by the way, my current professor is she's freaking amazing. She's making her own game in her own time, while she was working as a professor, and during her own free time she's creating her own game in her own time. And I think that um I think that I think that night I okay, I'm gonna try to like not fucking cry. But I think that night I was such a fucking I was an emotional mess. And I think uh I think that feeling is more so to do with feeling a sense of relief. And I'm thinking like I guess one of the things that I fear of is probably being told that I've wasted my fucking time. That essentially I wasted my fucking time basically. And that me wanting to do something a little different but not completely far off is somehow a bit of a cop out. And I guess like I guess I've been feared that people would just outright invalid it would just like invalidate what I was feeling and what I really wanted to do. And and I guess like I've even rolled out other possibilities. Like I don't want to be a graphic designer. Like I it turns out I hate doing graphic design. And Now, unless if it's something like for a YouTube thumbnails, that's a completely different story. You know, I wouldn't mind doing graphic shit, graphic design for like for Twitch, or possibly like if people want me to create like a Twitch format type of thing, or a banner, or for YouTube, that I wouldn't mind if it's like a little fun side hustle. I'll do like a seasonal thing where I would open up commissions um for it, right? And I think I have to be extremely, extremely real with you. Me getting a me feeling like it might be better if I take the role as a QA tester, and if it's QA testing for video games, that would be really great. But if it's QA testing for something else entirely, that I think that's total. I'd be open with it too, because I think I've loved the idea of testing out things before they get like shipped out, because I think like maybe if eventually if I do finally get to land on a game testing position, I think it'd be great, because maybe I might be one of those people that contribute to hopefully help improve the gaming industry, at least like in America somehow, by, you know, clearly stating like if there's something genuinely wrong, you know, bugs wise, I'm going to literally report it. You know, I will really bug report it. And if I had to record a video to replicate the whatever bugs that might be happening, then be you know, so be it. You know, I will prove like something is going wrong. Like, hey, there's something wrong in during this gameplay or that gameplay. This needs to be fixed, type of thing, right? So, you know, it's a lot of test playing and a lot of writing, which writing, I honestly don't mind writing. I don't mind writing when it comes to like video games in general. I think I've gotten really used to doing a lot of writing, and I think one of the biggest inspirations is the fact that one of my class that I've took, and it's called, I think it's called the game des- I think it's called game concepts course, and part of an assignment is that once after you test play, you know, existing games, you're supposed to do a play report. You're supposed to write a play report on the game you played. And I recall doing some prompts. I remember my professor would provide a prompt of questions based off of the games we played or we chose to play. And I remember enjoying writing about video games and whatnot. I know, like for QA testing, that'll be me writing about, you know, bug reports, what's happening and shit like that. This is kind of something that I do in one of my journals. Actually, I'll provide like a video clip, but I own like a few journals that are related to video games, where one of the one of the journals that I use is like my gaming log journal, where I'm writing down about what happened during my current session that day. You know, I write down about a paragraph about a game that I was playing that day, and you know, I write about my experience. And I feel like I feel like this would be something, you know, almost the same thing, but except I'm writing about the bugs that I've experienced as I'm test playing. So that's almost the same shit. And obviously I own, and then another journal I own that's video game related is like my video game journal, and it's basically me writing game reviews. I'm writing my review on a game. Or sometimes I'll just write about my thoughts about the game overall. Sometimes for a spread, I'll write the summary of the game, and then I then write about my overall thoughts on a game. Um, it's something that I've actually done during my spring break. Yeah, I mean, this is something I've done actually. I began to do a lot more during January of that year, and it's been something that I've done. Um, I have I've even like I've been playing a little bit more on my retro gaming handhelds. I only own 3 of them. And now I'm just jumping into a different topic, but I guess you get the whole point with some of my real thoughts and shit like that. Um but I guess I want to talk about a little. I've been wanting to talk about something more positive, but yeah, I own 3 retro gaming handhelds. I have a Mio Mini Plus. I have the RG Cube, and then I think I have the 30. I have the original 35XX. I don't have like the. I don't have the Plus. I don't have the fucking H. Um, but um, but mainly I only used the Mio Mini Plus and the RG Cube, and that's honestly because it's like I curated a lot of ROMs more there, and I managed to get those a little bit more personalized. I guess with the backgrounds or the games that I've added in there, shit like that. And I would just like play some classic games there. I've even played some ROM hacks or some fan games that I've gotten from itch.io, and I would just like after I finished them I would write journal spreads. Maybe someday I can make a video of like a flip through of my video game journal, because I would love to basically flip through my thought process when it came to like creating certain spreads, and how everything came to be and stuff like that. And I think and holy shit, I think first of all, holy fucking shit, I've rambled for a little over 30 minutes, but I hope it's not too. I didn't jump off too many topics at once. I hope like at least I have stayed consistent with topics for several minutes at the very least. And this is basically me talking about what the things that have been going on throughout that time, throughout my winter break, and everything that had happened up to now, really. Oh, I forgot one more thing. For those who probably don't recall, I've actually live streamed twice during the month of January. I've live streamed, and I'll tell you right, and I've been meaning to fucking say this. First of all, I want to thank y'all for coming by to the live stream, even despite how fucking unprepared my ass was to get it all set up and shit. But I would say the first stream was fine. The only thing I wished was a fucking thumbnail for it to make it a little bit more nice and crisp and shit like that. My second live stream, holy fuck, it was so hard to set up. But I worked through with it, and like there was just a lot of people coming by, like saying hello and shit like that. And I want to thank y'all so much for coming by through those 2 streams, and I want to do more. It's definitely one of those things, like when I have a free time, I would love to do more of it. And I've had fun, just chatting and playing games. Just playing games and chat with you guys and shit like that. Maybe someday I could set up a stream where I can invite people. I can invite, maybe I can make it where maybe I could do a Mario Kart 8 stream, and I'll invite whatever, I'll I'll have an online room that's open for anyone that gets to join. Obviously, first come, first serve, because I know, like, I know that type of shit is going to, like, you know, be a little bit pain in the ass, but I think I want to wait till if I'm able to, like, just garner more people, more audience, something a little more consistent. We're getting there, but we're getting there. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, when I did those live streams, I didn't expect people to actually come by, and I'm very thankful. I didn't think this would happen, and that's honestly because it's like, you know, I know my channel is small, but I'm just like, I was so wowed because, and you know, I did advertise that I did advertise and I did announce that, you know, I was planning to do those live streams, and I think honestly it's kind of like, I'm just honestly very happy to be able to do these things because it's like, it's very therapeutic. It brings me joy, and you know, I want to do things that bring me joy. You know, if you know, even with a basic 9 to 5 job, if my hobbies motivate, like, just to make my life a little bit easier, and then coming back, and then I just like, I'd be done with my job for the day and just like enjoy the things that I genuinely fucking enjoy. That's, to me, that's all that fucking matters to me. I don't ask much. For me, I don't ask to have the most luxurious fucking life. I don't even think I want to entirely be like a millionaire. But I want to be at a point in my life where I'm just comfortable. Maybe, and you know, just comfortable enough where I can keep my life sustainable. A stable 9 to 5 job that gives good pay, and and just and just fun time when I'm not fucking working, and and also spending time with my partner, because I love my partner very, very much. uh hey babe, if you're watching this video, I love you, and yeah. Love you, honey. But sorry about I'm sorry that sounds kind of fucking awkward. I know, like, this is gonna sound weird for anybody that this just gonna sound fucking weird for anybody else, but I know that I know my man will be happy. um I think this is gonna be it for now. It's just almost 40 minutes. I think this is probably my best attempt for this voiceover, right? And honestly, it's just I'm just probably going to, like, you know, I'm gonna end things off here. I think I managed to say everything that I've wanted to say, just air out things that I wanted to air out. It hasn't been easy for me because it's like, I've researched some job listings, and they sound really genuinely interesting, and finally being something that I might be able to be hired for. Because one of the things that's so difficult is, like, some of the qualification requirements are so fucking stupid and shit like that. A lot of the job listings that's offered in college were fucking stupid from my experience. So imagine me finding some websites where it's like the qualifications were a lot more fair in comparison. So it's really funny in that regard. And I've tried to get jobs, like, while I was in school, and it was really stupidly difficult. I tried, and I've had actually 2 job opportunities that were completely outside of school that wasn't that I tried going for, and the first one, it was a complete fucking setup, and I was so pissed off. And the second one was somehow where you would think it was my fault at first, but you would think it's my fault at first without context, but because there was a miscommunication and there was just certain things that was never told to me that I was supposed to have because it was never given to me. And I'm being as vague as possible with this is because I don't want any harassment fucking happening and shit like that. So that's pretty much it in that scenario. I'm gonna end it off. Thank you guys for watching. Holy shit, it's over 40 minutes. I'm gonna leave now. I hope you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. And take care.